Okay, so I wanted to run through the Peru application with everybody. Um, and so I will be sharing an invite for you to join a Peru Occupational Therapy Mission 2024 application. So we're doing things a little differently for applying to the program. And so this, I think, will be a nice, more user-friendly way for you guys to get everything submitted. If we go to modules, well, so first of all, I'll be looking for that email or a link. I'll probably put it in announcements in 704 since I have both Bismarck and Billings in that class. And so I can probably put that link in the announcements. And if you're interested in applying for the program, or you can start working on your application once you enroll in this course. And you should be able to do so just by clicking on the link. So if you click on modules, you'll see here that there are various things for you that you can work on. You'll see here right off the bat that our round of applications are going to be due November 17th, okay? With Canvas and using Canvas as a centrally located place for applications, they shut off at the end of the semester, so they shut off in December. So that's why we're having the November 17th date for you to kind of decide. That said, if that's a deal breaker and, come visit with me, we can talk about maybe what you feel is doable. And then we can work with Mia to see if she can make that work on the global studies end of things. Okay, so don't let November 17th be a deal breaker for you. I know it's coming up soon, but just know that if we do have a commitment, it helps us to plan and to finalize our overall budget and overall fees for the cost of the trip if we have an exact or a more exact number of students interested that have committed. So right away, the first thing is going to be an enrollment deposit. And so this is a $250 deposit. Again, that helps us understand, okay, who is really serious about going on the Peru trip? Who can commit to it? And so again, we're looking at November 17th due date. However, if you wanted to hold off on that a little bit, again, come visit with me first if that's like not feeling right with you, and I can try and see what we can do or what you think would be more reasonable or what is reasonable, and then we'll visit with Mia about it. She said she might be able to be a little flexible with that. If we go back to modules, there is a personal essay that I personally like to read on each and everybody that wants to go. And so this gives me an idea on how to prepare topics, if you will, before we go. So we typically like to meet once a month at the beginning of next semester. So once monthly, to meet and just kind of dig a little bit deeper into what to expect from the experience and what can we do as a group to prepare for our trip. Okay, so this really helps me identify maybe some topics that we need to address. Maybe it's just more communication about specifically what it is that we'll be doing, when we'll be doing it, and just it helps me know what to expect or what you expect. Also, then it helps when we're there with students, as faculty are there with students. It helps us know what it is that you want to achieve, what it is that might be challenging for you, so that we can help you navigate those challenges when we're down there. Okay, so again, this is a personal essay that I will be looking at. And again, it really helps me understand maybe your motivation for going, maybe your expectations, so that we can communicate and all be on the same page. Okay. Acknowledgement of payment deadlines. So this is what we're looking for here. Again, there's a $250 deposit when you submit this application. Okay, all these things are part of your application. Again, that gives us an idea of who is committed, so that we can really start honing in on the overall budget. Right now, we have the program fee set at a roughly $3,000 per person. Okay, that cost is kind of like jaw dropping, but it includes international health insurance. So it's not uncommon for me when I go down there to get a sinus infection because I'm not used to the pollution, the traffic, the dust, um, those kinds of things. I already have chronic sinus issues. So when I go down there, um, if I need to see the doctor when I'm down there, there's a private clinic that we can go to. I usually end up paying like what $200 or so, or 300 soles in their currency. And then when I get home, I submit my receipts and I submit all of the medical records, and then I get reimbursed 100%. So really good comprehensive health insurance that's down there. I know I've used it a few times. This includes all transportation for all of us, which includes when we arrive in Lima, we have to have vehicles or buses, or a bus, or however many students go. Kemmerly arranges that to pick us up when we get there. And to take us, it's about maybe 45-minute to an hour-long drive to where it is that we stay. So that's all included. We also take a domestic flight when we leave from Lima to Cusco, and then Cusco back to Lima again. So there is another flight that is included in this program fee. This also includes lodging when we are in Lima. It includes lodging when we're in Cusco. It includes most of the meals. This says all meals, but I would say there probably is maybe one or two meals where we're on our own, which are roughly, I would say, $20 per meal. And that's on like the nicer end of things. It includes a Lima City tour. It includes a bus ticket, a train ticket, another bus ticket to get to Machu Picchu, a guided tour of the ruins of Machu Picchu, an all-day Sacred Valley tour in Cusco so that we get acclimated to the altitude. Typically in Lima, there's a traditional dance and dinner show that we go to. There's a day traveling event where we go to Huacachina, which is the sand dunes, and all of those activities are all included with that. And so that $3,000 seems like a lot, but it is lodging essentially for 2 weeks, most of our food, transportation, a lot of the, I don't want to say touristy things, I like to call them more cultural immersion or cultural experiences, because we're all learning so much about the culture when we're there. So I think, let's see here. Now, in the past, what's happened sometimes is students will say, I'm going to go, right? And then the university and Kemmerly make all these arrangements based on who says they're going to go, okay? So then that includes buying airfare, when we're in Peru, buying airfare. It includes arranging for transportation. It includes reserving rooms. It includes cost of meals. It includes ticket prices to some of the different cultural events that we go to. And then the student will say, just kidding, I'm not going to go, or something comes up, right? And so that means that the university becomes stuck with all of those extra costs. when that student backs out. And so now we've had an attorney look at things, and we've had some agreements and those kinds of things that are kind of legal terms that have been added to sort of this application process. It's a little bit more formal. So that's kind of the back history of why we see things like late fees, right? Because it's kind of like, well, if there's a late fee, I'm going to be more motivated to make sure I get my payment in, right? And we're really relying on that payment to cover some of those reservations that are made to be held for those students who are committing to go. So if we do have a lot of students who back out, once those reservations are made, it really bites the university hard. And it sort of makes the program sort of on the chopping block, right? If the university is losing their money from it, they're not going to want it around long. So that's why you see some of this language and terminology with like late fees and payment policies, cancellations, refunds. So if you do submit and you want a refund, right, after, here's kind of a refund, if you will, for the different costs. So if you do submit things, right, after January 9th, you'll see here after you submit the application, you won't be able to get that application fee back. Okay, so I would wait to submit it until you can commit that you are going to be going. I think if you're on the fence, I would encourage you to start looking at fundraising opportunities and start going with that right away. I think that would be maybe put your mind at ease a little bit about coming up with the funds. I know in the past we've had payment plans too for students, and this year they've really gotten away from that because it was a lot of students that had something come up and they couldn't make their monthly payment, right? So then it was me chasing students down to pay, and it was them chasing students down to pay, and then it was, well, now they have a late payment fee, and we're trying to simplify things. So they're saying $250 by application, which hopefully would be due in November. The end of January, there usually is an enrollment deposit that's due. So essentially $250 plus $750 is $1,000. Okay. So then towards mid-April, beginning of May, there likely would be the remaining fee posted to your student account, which would roughly be $2,000. And so really that April-May time is when you'll kind of get that final bill. Again, that $3,000 might change a little bit. Say there is 15 students who opt to go. Again, some of those costs can be divided amongst 15 students as opposed to 6. And so that cost could go down a little bit. I want to say that $3,000 estimate is for, I can't remember if it was 8 students or 9 students. So if we get more than that, that program cost could go down a little bit. Okay. The other thing that's not included, that's really worth mentioning, is your airfare from Billings, Bismarck, Fargo, to and from Lima. Okay. So again, the more students we get, we usually get a little bit better deals flying as a group and getting group rates. So Kimberly does her best to work with airlines to get us the best deals possible with what they're willing to do. The cheapest airfare that I've ever experienced was roughly $1,100. Okay, and that was round trip from Bismarck to and from Lima, or Bismarck to Lima to Bismarck. The most expensive I've ever seen it was $1,600. I can say that's only happened once in the 5 times I've gone. Usually it's roughly around 1,300 is a really good deal. So anything under 1,500, it's kind of a good deal. So Kemmerly, when we know a number of students, so probably by that January 29th date when those fees are due, okay, we'll have probably a good understanding of how many students are willing to go. And then that's when Kemmerly is going to start pushing the airlines, right, and finding and kind of finding out when that best deals are, and then she'll be able to book it. Once she books the airfare, she will bill the university. The university will then bill each of you the amount of that airfare. So that airfare could be added again to mid-April, beginning of May. Okay. The good news is I've received word that the Carly Malm Scholarship, there will be funds that were raised at last year's 5K race. There will be funds that students can apply to if they have financial need and those kinds of things to apply to that scholarship. I don't know exactly how much funds are available or who would qualify, those kinds of things. So when I find that out, I'll certainly let you know. Again, I know there's one part of the application that states they want to see that some students have done some fundraising opportunities already. So I could anticipate maybe that scholarship being due maybe February sometime, within a scholarship committee looking at who gets awarded what. That way you have the funds perhaps to use, hopefully to use for your upcoming payments by April, May. Okay. So that's a big part about payment deadlines and the program cost and what that all includes. Pre-decision Peru occupational therapy liability waiver. So we are going out of the country, right? We are doing things. There's opportunity for us to maybe get ill. And so basically what this is saying is that the university is not liable, right? So you're making decisions as adults, going there. If we get something that's stolen or anything like that, again, this is a form that was written by the attorney. So anyways, take a look at this and let me know if you have any questions. It's basically just saying, hey, we're not going to hold the university responsible if an act of God happens, or maybe we do get pickpocketed or something like that. The university is not liable for that. And so again, be sure that you're looking at this. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'll do my very best to explain it to you. What they want you to do is, let's see here. This is an ungraded survey. Okay, so when we go back to modules, there will be quizzes. So you can kind of see the things that are marked quizzes, where you will have to enter your name, and that essentially means that you're agreeing to that form or you're agreeing to it, okay? So that's why they're quizzes. It's just for the legalities of getting a legal signature. So that's the liability waiver. Study abroad acknowledgement form. Okay, so again, this is looking at signing everything. This is more specific to the Office of Global Studies. So the Office of Global Studies at the University of Mary looks at all study abroad programs, okay? It looks at our level 1 fieldwork experience to Peru. It looks at the medical mission that goes to Peru. It looks at those students who go and study abroad in Italy, Rome, I think there were some in the past that were Ireland, England. So all of those global things that the university offers, we work with the Office of Global Studies to try and centralize everything and help keep us all organized. Okay. So it's not just working with the university's OT program, right? The Office of Global Studies has their own policies and such, and we have to follow both. Okay. And again, this is their deal, this is their jam, doing all the international stuff. And so they have their own policies that you'll want to just take a look at. Some of the prereqs to enroll in this program, and I'll talk a little bit about that if we go back to modules. I want everybody to participate in Peru. Okay, I think it is the greatest thing in the world. When I was an OT student, I did some of my field work in Guatemala on a very similar experience, and it was life-changing. Okay, I look back when I was practicing as an OT, and I thought, wow, I am so grateful I had this experience in Guatemala. It really prepared me for this work in the nursing home, or it really prepared me working with kids. And I could really speak to that. So much so that I devoted my dissertation for my PhD on writing about the effects of international service, and specifically on OT. So I want everybody to be able to participate. Okay. Um, I've taken some of the global studies typical prereqs to participating in a program. Typically, they're your personal essay, they're getting a faculty recommendation. Well, you know what? I teach you all, and I'm going to recommend you all. So I just simply ask them, please don't put that on there. But I will say, if anybody is on an academic probation or a professional skills probation, that as a department, as an OT department, we really would be looking at, is it in the student's best interest to be able to participate in the program? Okay. Or is it really going to hold everybody as or be more of a liability, taking somebody who isn't as professional and polished to come with to Peru? Okay. Or do they not have the academic skills needed to successfully do some of the Peru experiences? So, we would take that on a case by case basis and consider that. So I think that would be the only sort of prerequisite that we probably look at. Okay. Passport. So personal essay and any probationary statuses you might be on, we would need to have a conversation about your ability to do this. Okay. Passport. Okay, so please please carefully fill in the following information. So again, this will probably be some kind of a survey for you to fill out. I know Mia does ask for digital copies of your passport. If you're a Bismarck student, I can certainly help you work with that as well. When Kemmerly starts booking things like airfare, those kinds of things, we do need your passport for that. If you have not ordered your passport yet, now is the time to order it. Okay, so now is the time. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Mia. She's more than happy. If you don't think you'll get your passport by November 17th, let Mia and myself know. I know there's some students in Bismarck that have theirs ordered, or they're ordering theirs now. So likely they won't get theirs by November 17th, but they'll get it in plenty of time for the trip. I just wouldn't wait much longer to get it. Okay. There's also some personal information that she's going to want you to fill out, like your student ID, your email address, just so we have that contact information readily available, your name on your passport. That's very important. any cell phone in case anything has to happen or in case we need to get a hold of you, date of birth, permanent address. Again, some of these are just some personal information that's really helpful when we're making reservations or if we need to get a hold of you for some reason. So that is pretty much the application process, is just making sure that you have everything submitted, um, and it's keeping up with your payments, those kinds of things. Um, Once you submit your application, I will be reviewing your application. Again, I like to read those essays, um, and I can't imagine anybody not getting accepted, right? So I don't really want you to worry so much about that. Um, and once you submit the application, I'm sure I can take a look at everything. And again, I want everybody who wants to participate in this to be able to participate. I don't want to hold anybody back. I think it's great. Okay. Even if there is a slight probation issue, right? Academic or professional skills probation. I have had students in the past be on a professional skill probation or an academic skill probation. I have had both. Um, and as the faculty going down there with them, I had visited with them and we had a specific plan in place for when we were down there. And when we were down there, we visited about it regularly to make sure that everybody was meeting each other's expectations. Okay, and it worked very well. And I think having faculty that maybe know what the student needs to work on is a strength of going on an experience like this also. So I think that really helps students be more successful for their field work. Um, so that's the application process. Again, feel free to start working on it now. If the November 17th deadline or the application fee is a little scary, it's coming up really quick, please just communicate with me and we can try and talk about maybe some options we have for that. Okay. Any other questions that come up, please let me know. I know I have some students that are really gung-ho about it right now, right away. And so let's see here. I'm going to try to get into the OT group page. So courses, OT group, and modules. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm in the OT group page in Canvas under modules. We go down, scroll, scroll, scroll. We have Peru service mission trip. Okay, that's not you. We're the Peru level 1 field work. And so here's a question board that we did or that I did in the past for students who maybe had questions that went to Peru this summer. I'll likely need to update this, right? So if you have any questions, or maybe you want to, I don't know if you'll be able to see any questions. I don't know as if anybody used it, to be honest with you, just because everybody kind of saw me all the time. So something else I can show you is, here was our tentative itinerary. We will have a similar itinerary. So again, if you just want to take a look at this, this usually gets updated. Again, the closer we get to the experience, Kimberly hammers down more of those details. Okay, so right now everything's just kind of, um, we have that tentative itinerary. Again, you can take a look at what we did last year, um, and sort of those dates. Again, last year we flew out on June 17th, which is a Saturday. Um, this year, I would anticipate flying out that same Saturday in June, but I believe that date is the 15th, not the 17th. So it would be June 15th. I would anticipate flying out. And then I would also anticipate flying back maybe the 29th, or the 30th, or maybe the 28th, 29th, somewhere in there. Okay, give or take a few days, if you will. Um, so again, we may be doing some of the same, kind of the same timeline, if you will. So that's where that's going to live in the OT group page when I know more information, and I'll certainly share more information as I get it. We're just really early in the game. International level 1 fieldwork. Now here is a whole bunch of information. Okay. I know in the past it's been kind of travel to Peru. It's kind of crazy right now, and I think last year we were on a there was like travel warnings to Peru because of protests. Okay, and so we would go to the U.S. Embassy Peru. We would click on this. I would get I would get notifications, right? I could sign up for notifications to find out where those protests were. I don't know if you remember last year, but some of those protests ruined the Inca rail that takes you to Machu Picchu, and Machu Picchu was actually shut down for quite a while. And so, we were all planning for the trip, and we were like, oh, I wonder if that's going to be open in time for the students to go. So that was all kind of gray, right, up until we were ready to leave. So again, this is good if you're kind of nervous about traveling. Those kinds of things, it's good to keep up on, okay? Also, in the past, there were COVID shot requirements or vaccination requirements to get in and out of the country. Right before we left last year, they lifted those. Okay, and so there currently are no longer COVID vaccination requirements. However, maybe that'll change. I don't know. But this site right here, that first site, the Peru U.S. Embassy, that's where I get that information. Again, I follow this regularly. If something comes up, I'm going to be sending you guys emails and announcements. Okay. Speaking of vaccinations, the U.S. Center for Disease Control gives us recommendations for those traveling to Peru. So I really recommend that you visit with your physician. You show them where you're going to be going, right? We're going to be spending most of our time in Lima. We'll be spending some time in Cusco. We'll be spending some time at Machu Picchu. And so knowing that, right, they may or may not recommend that you get certain kinds of vaccinations. So I know some of the vaccinations that are there are more for those visiting the jungle regions of Peru, like the Amazon area. We're not going to be there. And so again, visit with your physicians about that. To see what it is that they recommend, okay? Some of the vaccinations have to be given in series, and so make sure that you're looking at that and visiting with your physician sooner than later so you can get some of those series completed. I do not police these, okay? It's your adults, it's your responsibility to follow the CDC guidelines and to visit with your physician on what you feel is best, okay? Again, you saw some of those liability waivers, those kinds of things. So it's really important for you, again, to see what it is that your physician recommends or healthcare provider recommends. Peru information. So I found this site, limaeasy.com. I find it really user-friendly and helpful, just getting information about Lima, about Peru. There's also really good information on the official Peru tourism guide with some spectacular photos. So be searching those websites. I think they're really cool. Some of the areas where we will be, primarily, we're going to be in Lima. So I have a link here that specifically talks about Lima, okay? The biggest city I've ever been in by far, okay? Huge city, oh my goodness. So here's some great information or background information about Lima. We will take a day trip to Huacachina. On our stop there, or before we get there, we likely will stop at a seaside town called Paracas and take a little boat trip to the Paracas Islands. Okay, again, it's a huge cultural experience for us. So there's some information about the Paracas Islands in this link for you to explore so you understand what it is that you're signing up for. Okay, I've had students in the past who said, I don't remember being told I was going to ride on a boat. I get extremely seasick. I don't want to go. Okay. So by you exploring these different sites, it's trying to communicate what it is that we're going to be doing so that you can, again, know what is expected and decide, is this right? Is this not right for you? Ica or Huacachina, those are the sand dunes. And so again, here's some information about that. When we fly up to Cusco, here's some great information about the city of Cusco itself. It's very, very historical. It's really spectacular. We will be on an all-day tour of the Sacred Valley, which starts off in Cusco. I know I've had students in the past who have said, oh, I thought the Sacred Valley was just like an hour-long thing, and I really wanted to spend time shopping in Cusco, or I really wanted to. So again, be looking at these sites so that you know what the expectation is, so you're not completely taken off guard. I know people don't comprehend everything that is talked about. So again, we're kind of talking about things as we go. The biggest takeaway I want you to get here from the OT group page is where these resources live so you can kind of explore them on your own, okay? Everybody always wishes they could speak some Spanish, okay? And so Babbel.com, you can sign up for a free trial. Rosetta Stone. Somebody from last year's group told me Duolingo, Duolingo, is an app that you can sign up for free. There's a free version, and you can sign up for Spanish. I actually have it on my phone. It's the little owl guy right there. Okay, I highly recommend it. It's free. It's on your app. You can do little sentences and conversations. It's kind of like a little video game, okay? It's a lot of fun and it's free. I'm going to add Duolingo to the site as soon as I'm done with the Zoom here. Some people really found it helpful for Google Translate and to have that on their phone. Sometimes you need Wi-Fi and we're not always on a place where we have Wi-Fi readily accessible, okay? So be sure when you're looking at things, if you would feel more comfortable with some kind of translation software, that it doesn't run on Wi-Fi. Where we go, it's usually pretty good where we have translators, interpreters, but sometimes, they can't get to all of us, right? So I don't fluidly speak Spanish, and I've gone to Peru several times. I it's doable. Okay. Um, a lot of questions I get also, what do we do for cell phone? Like, I can't live without my cell phone. I need to call my family. Many of your Wi-Fi carriers will have international plans. So make sure if you have Verizon, make sure you're checking Verizon. If you have other sites or other plans or carriers, make sure you're checking with them. I know I've gotten like an unlimited Wi-Fi plan and hotspot plan for like 30 bucks, I think it was, for a month. That was a couple years ago with unlimited Wi-Fi while I was in Peru. Okay. So again, you'll want to check your carriers before you go. Money. Okay. Just some helpful tips. Notify your bank when you're traveling. I know I have like a credit card I use or an ATM card or debit card. And so I usually notify my bank and tell them that I'm going to be traveling out of the country. Sometimes they will lock your account if they see a suspicious charge um, out of the country. So it's helpful to give them a heads up that you're going. I do have a credit card where I can do that all electronically. I don't even have to call anybody. So make sure that you're getting that checked out. We do use ATMs for cash to get cash in Peru. Um, that's typically how we get cash. Is we'll put in our debit card, right, or some kind of card and do a withdrawal from an ATM. Typically, we get money through a gas station that is right on our way to and from the school to where we're staying. I've never had an issue with that at all. Um, we'll talk more about money later. I think shopping typically Cusco are the places where we want to do a lot of our shopping because they're quite a bit less expensive, especially when we travel to Machu Picchu. That's a huge touristy area. There are beautiful markets there, right? I usually buy stuff for my kids there because, ooh, it's Machu Picchu. But you usually can find similar things or the same things in Cusco for probably half the price. So anyway, keep that in mind. Um, I also want you to keep in mind that when we travel, we are traveling as one group. Okay. And so sometimes we have a schedule to keep to get from point A to point B. And I know some students who have done a lot of traveling in the past and they've traveled independently, sometimes struggle with that a little bit, right? Well, I want to go off and I want to do this. Well, but for your safety, I don't want you to go alone. And for the safety of the group, we don't want to be stuck waiting, right? And to hold up our transportation while we're waiting for you. So we really need to kind of have that collective, we are a group, right? And kind of when we're working as a group, we need to, compromise, communicate if we need to communicate. And depending on how many students go, right, and how many faculty members go, those kinds of things, then we can sometimes divide and conquer um, and split up into smaller groups if we need to, as long as we have some kind of communication together. Okay. So again, just I know that kind of surprised some students in the past was I thought I'd get more alone time or I thought I'd get more um, time to explore on my own. Um, and so again, that might be up to your faculty person who goes with you on the trip also and their comfort level. It's a lot of pressure being a faculty member, keeping track of everybody. Yes, you are all adults, but oh my goodness, like I care so deeply for those that I travel with. And many of you probably have more travel experience than I do, even. So I'm protective. Okay. I'm a little more protective and anxious about keeping everybody safe. Um, so again, that might be a little different depending on who goes. Sickness medication. So here's some information and some recommendations, right? A lot of constipation just from change of diet and being in an airplane for so long. And then sometimes we're eating really rich foods that we're not used to. And so then we kind of get the opposite effect. And so come prepared. right? Some people one year got really a lot of motion sickness, and I even got motion sickness that year, and I have never been motion sick um, any other time I was there. I did not get motion sickness last year. Um, Last year, nobody got any altitude sickness. In the past, I have had a couple students get altitude sickness where they're nauseous, maybe throwing up, and then they feel a little better. Um, Again, in Peru, one of their natural remedies is using coca tea. Um, and so there's a little bit of information about coca tea here and the health benefits of it. We'll talk a little bit more about it. Anyway, I love coca tea. Absolutely love it. It's like a real mild green tea. And it doesn't give me the jitters. It's not like heavily caffeinated. Like I could sip it before I go to bed and I could take a nap. And I'm usually really sensitive to that kind of stuff. When I looked at the chemical compounds of it, there was a lot of sort of electrolytes in it, which I think makes a lot of sense, right? That we're hydrating, we're using coca tea to help with those electrolytes. Book lists about Peru. So I've had some students who have said, hey, I really wish I could have I really wish I would have read some books about Peru. And so I have a book list specifically about Peru culture and history here. Let me know if you find others so I can add to the list. And then there's, some of you, oh, I don't know how you have time to leisurely read. Um, Bless you for doing that. If you're able to do that, I'm more of a let me watch a Netflix kind of thing. And so here are some documentaries or shows about Peru that I thought were really interesting. Some of them I've watched, and they're kind of about the food there. You don't have to watch the whole episode; you can fast forward to Peru. So it's really cool. So again, I have these here in the OT group page for you to start exploring, to get excited, to help inform your decision on how you feel about going. It really is an incredible opportunity. Um, so like I mentioned earlier, we do like to meet once a month once we know everybody who's going, okay, or who's committed to going. We like to meet once a month, and I do usually have some cultural prep kinds of things to do. We were able to tie in some of this information with one of the courses that you take in the summer. So that was really nice. So I'm not going to necessarily open that up. Everybody wants to know what to pack. This is a tremendous packing list that's overwhelming to look at. It has Amazon wish lists, it has supplies, it has packing tips. Many of those the students shared with you today. Um, my hope is that I can organize this document and not make it quite so overwhelming, and maybe to update the supply list, um, because we have a lot of the supplies that are down there and they're stored for us. So if you are so inclined and want to start looking at this already, feel free to do so. Um, Again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. I love to talk about it. I've been to Peru, I don't even know how many times. Um, so we can think about it. Again, focus on Peru level 1 fieldwork in group page. And I just would look at, if I were you at this point, this international level 1 fieldwork Peru, I would just look at that and start looking at some of those resources. Okay. Any questions, please let me know. I know I got long-winded again, but here's where everything lives, a lot of handy resources. Thank you so much.